Arcane is a masterpiece. If you have seen the video on why Arcane is not just for League of Legends players, you will know exactly why. The amazing thing about it is that Arcane as a series in its own right, even if entirely removed from everything that is League of Legends, is still an excellent show. It has 4 key components that makes it a masterpiece, as well as accessible for pretty much anyone. First, it has a compelling storyline that requires no prior knowledge of the characters. Second, a fascinating world, and a magic system that is gradually introduced to the viewer. Third, wonderful animation. And fourth, a studio that is very much attached to these characters, since they have been responsible for them from day one. If you want details on any of this, or why the show is also so amazing for long-standing League of Legends fans, I suggest you check out the video after this one. But for today, we want to look at why it was such a shrewd business move on part of Netflix to host Arcane. Welcome to Rebel Culture, where we look at all things that are games, shows, and pop culture. And I think that is fair to say that Arcane is all 3 of them. I definitely scored coolness points for recommending Arcane to my younger cousins, and if that isn't proof, I don't know what is. Anyways, if you like this sort of content, subscribe to Rebel Culture to stay in the loop on our newest videos. And if you like this video in particular, then give it a thumbs up so we can make more content like this. But now, let's look at the genius of Netflix in particularly hosting this show. First, Netflix really hasn't been doing well recently. We have all heard of its decrease in subscribers in April 2022, which was a huge deal, since this was the first time that it happened. On our sister channel, Rebel Economics, we actually talk about why the Netflix stock lost 50% of its value. So if you're interested in that, also make sure to check that out later. Fact is, Netflix has been in crisis mode, and not just since April 2022. Even before this, its growth has significantly slowed down since the beginning of 2020. And it clearly was aware that as its competitors ramped up their production and became bigger players on the market, it would have to offer things that the others couldn't. One of the main sectors that Netflix is pretty big in is anime. Neither Disney Plus nor HBO Max has much to offer on that front. Disney, however, is already trying to change that, as it is looking to take over a bigger part of the streaming market in the Asia-Pacific region. Netflix, however, has long since been hosting a wide variety of anime shows, as well as producing original anime content. So for all those who watch anime, Netflix is definitely the way to go. So Netflix is smart in offering these loyal subscribers even more content. And while Arcane isn't anime per se, it's an educated guess that there will be a significant overlap in people that watch anime and people that play League of Legends. So offering a show that itself is animated, albeit not in the anime style, and includes beloved characters from a very beloved game, it really caters to this group of people. Though, like I said before, it is a great show in its own right, even if entirely removed from the game. The initial hurdle to watch a show about a game that you don't know about might be a little bigger than if you start out knowing the characters already a little bit. So, by hosting Arcane, Netflix gave an amazing show to a loyal group of subscribers, making sure to keep their loyalty as other streaming services are entering the anime market as well. Furthermore, with the information being out that Season 2 is in production and will be released in 2023, this keeps people who want to watch the continuation loyal to Netflix for a little bit longer. Beyond the long-standing anime tradition on Netflix, we see Netflix being very willing to try out new things. It took a chance on promoting movies and shows outside of their linguistic regions, most famously with Money Heist, Elite, Dark, or more recently, Squid Game. These shows have been huge successes for Netflix and proved that not all content that is produced has to be so heavily Americanized. In fact, people very much appreciated this new content which has a very different feel from many American shows. No wonder there are now 1 million K-dramas on Netflix. People love them, and Netflix was smart enough to make something that once upon a time seemed so niche more available to a broader audience. And this was the recipe for success. Again, Netflix took over a niche and made it mainstream. This sense of adventure stayed with Netflix, giving different things a go. Not all of them are successful, of course. I'm not sure how many of you remember the interactive episode of Black Mirror, Bandersnatch. Whether you liked it, hated it, or never even heard of it, it certainly was an interesting experiment. For me, I didn't much care for it. But I know my partner, the other voice on this channel, would have a very different opinion on this than I do. So, with all this in mind, does it really seem that crazy that Netflix might make an animated show about a game and try to make it mainstream too? I don't think so. In fact, I think that this is exactly the type of thing Netflix would attempt, and fingers crossed, succeed in. After all, creating successful niches might be one of the most beneficial strategies of Netflix, and quite a few have already gone well for them. As in any innovation, there will be the ones following, and I think that regarding anime and K-dramas, it is clear to see that they will get increasing screen time on other streaming services as well. But that is why going for something like Arcane is so genius, because it is not that easy to imitate. Arcane is a web of amazing animation, a heartfelt story, a studio where you can feel that it genuinely cares about the characters. Great music by Imagine Dragons, and all of the interwoven emotions that League of Legends players associate with these characters. It is a complex concoction and masterfully executed, and I would love to see more of it. And this is exactly where maybe the most important point hits: seeing more of it. League of Legends has 161 champions, each of them individual, with their own character, their own backstory, and their own rivalries. The lore is present and can be fleshed out as has been with the story of Vi and Jinx, and interconnected with other characters, as again has been done in Arcane, by also featuring Echo, Caitlyn, Chase, Victor, Singed, and Heimerdinger. Now, those are only 8 champions, whose story have been interlinked so far in Arcane, and it can easily continue with these 8 for a really long time. But that still leaves 153 other champions, whose stories haven't been told yet and who are just as interesting and intriguing. Don't believe me? Check out the lore of some of the champions, they're so interesting. You could literally just follow some of them, having them meet random other champions on their quest, while those themselves could have their own shows too. So this is the real hard-hitting reason why the decision to host Arcane was so great. Because if done right, you could have 20 more shows like it with multiple seasons. You can interweave the stories where you want and then let them go their separate paths again. Or let them find artifacts from one another, since many champions don't actually live in the same time period. The options are literally limitless. Arcane has done so well in telling the story of Vi and Jinx, and it could do so for many other champions too. This could create a far more accessible way to tell the lore of the individual characters of League of Legends, while also providing endless content to Netflix. If the shows they produce for League of Legends are on par with Arcane, they will easily gain a huge and loyal following for these shows alone. And if this turns out to be a niche success like some of their other experiments, Arcane could be the way to save Netflix from its ever-growing competitors. What do you think? Will there be more shows like Arcane? Let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching Rebel Culture. If you enjoyed our video, please like and subscribe. We really do appreciate every single one of you. And while you're at it, make sure to check out our other video on Arcane, or some of the other content that we have. Well, thanks for watching guys, and see you soon here in Rebel Culture.